they are on a shingle roof. The only difference is the way you add the items up to make the material list. So you have everything here, right? And when you guys get a roof snap or whichever program you guys measure, is it a roof snap?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a roof snap, right? And you pull up, I guess I should have had a roof snap up here, guys. I didn't. Let me see if I happen to have one on this list here. We'll just use an eagle view, who cares? It's close enough. Let's look at this one here. So you have an eagle view, right? Okay, same thing as a roof snap. You have that there, and you don't need all these. This is a picture of the roof, all that good stuff. Where we're building this material list off of is really that last little bit you guys have, where it has, I think the one on roof snaps are like a longer list on this side, but this is the exact information that we need right there to build this roof quote. So when you start on...
Do you guys look at that address or are you gonna steal a job?
Absolutely, yeah, actually that's the wrong address. He ran the wrong Ecobee report. It's supposed to be 624. He's like, hey, you need to do this roof. Oh man, I did the wrong one, sorry. I'm like, well, so you guys can, your roofs always have the pitches and everything like that, so we'll go down here and we'll find, here we go, here's all the data we need. All right, so we have the area and we can use the waste factors here. So all we're doing when you make this material list, and you can tell me if you guys look at this and it doesn't, you feel like something's missing or it's not clear, I'll change up how this Excel file is made to cater to what you guys, the terminology you use or what you need to know or what you already know. So if you look on here, you basically are filling the line items in one by one. And when you put an item there in quantity, it will just give you the price and it'll build it all the way down. When you get to the bottom, you have your job total, you know what your material cost is delivered from us, out the door. Like the bill from us, the final bill, loading everything done is that number there. And you can use that, and then you guys add on your profit, your installation, dump fees, all of that can get added on after that. So if you look here, first thing on that list is ridges, 38 feet. None of this has waste, of course. Ridge, right there. So you're gonna put in a number there. You guys more than likely add what, 10, 15% waste, typically somewhere in that range. Okay, so that's, when you ask me for a tile quote, that's all I do. I take that 38, I multiply it by 1.1, and I put that number right there. So I'll go ahead and I'll put 38 in that line, so I just build it, 38, okay?
So when it says ridge tile, that specifically means
That,
one
so
ridge tile.
one ridge tile is 1 foot. So I can probably, would that help you guys if I put one tile per linear foot?
That does help.
Does that help?
Yeah.
So now you guys know exactly, if it says one, it's one. If it's two, if it says 10 feet, you need 10 tiles.
Okay.
So it's 1 to 1. Okay, so you have 38 feet of there, so we add some in, we'll call it 44, add a little bit of waste in. All right, the next thing you have is hips, 46 feet of hips, okay? So I've gone through and I've listed them the exact same way you guys will see them on your roof snaps. So that way there's no difference, no, well, this one says, like roof valley. Okay, if it's called a valley, I'm gonna put a valley right there. I'm gonna call it what it is so that you guys can translate that information over. And I put measurements here too, like linear feet. I probably need to add a line here that says these are 10-foot sticks also. So you got the hip tile, and this thing has any hips here, okay? It's got 46 feet of hips, so we can go ahead and put about 50 feet of hips in there, okay? And then the next thing is rake, so we can fill in some rake. We have 85 feet of rake. I would probably do 93, and you guys can round these up. The one thing you want to know with tile is it's not like a shingle roof where if you're short a bundle, you just run over to RSG, you grab a bundle, the guy goes back, and you finish the roof. These products come out of 3 places, all the way in Sumterville near Ocala, all the way in Lake Wales, or way over in Okeechobee. So they're not close by. They don't usually stock this stuff. So if you're short a half square of tile, like some of you have probably seen, it might take us a week, 2 weeks, a month to get that extra little bit. You're stuck not getting your commission, the job's not getting finished, upset homeowner. So on tile, because of the margin that usually is built in, it's a pretty good job, pretty big ticket job. I always err on the side of adding a little more waste than less. So if you think, I'll probably go to 10%, maybe go 12. Just a little bit extra on at least these first 4 or 5 items right here, the tile, hip ridge, and rake. Because those are the 3 things, or the 4 things that you can get stuck with. All right, so then you got, I put 93 in the wrong line. Okay. All right, so hip, ridge, rakes, valleys there. 15 feet of valleys. Okay, they say they're 10 linear feet, 15, so we can do 2 of those. I'm just going on the list. Do you guys want me to go through this with you? Does this help you?
This is
I
good.
think it's good.
Okay. All right. So we got hips. We got ridges, hips, valleys, rakes, eaves, and starters. Okay. So and it says starter there. So that's why I put this little list, and I may even add it here. Same as starter. Does that help you to have the? I mean, I don't know if you want me to say what word that would be. The same as using making a shingle roof, because the eave closure isn't like drip edge. It doesn't go around the whole roof. It just goes on the eaves. So not the rakes, just the eaves, where you have gutter basically.
Okay.
So that's the same as a starter strip. So wherever when you're building a shingle roof and it has a starter strip, that's what this eave closure is.
Okay.
So maybe let's see.
And you need that.
Yes, you do. And so what this does, this eave closure is made to the profile of the tile. So if you have a flat tile, the eave closure, so the eave closure, let me find you a picture of it here.
Goes underneath the ridges.
Let me see. Okay, so let me see if this one has it. That's kind of I should have done a little bit better job of zooming into that. Okay, so you can kind of see in the corner right there that it's not the greatest picture. But you can see that this is a barrel tile. So the eave closure, the eave drip goes down over the eave. The eave closure goes up under the tile. So it sits up on the roof. You see the front of it from the roof here. And if it's a barrel tile, it'll sit right on top of that.
Gotcha.
And if it's a flatter barrel tile, it'll just be a little lower profile and sit there. And if it's a flat tile, this piece here will be up, but it'll be flat, and the tile itself will butt almost right up next to it like that. So it just matches the profile of the tile. You don't need to tell me flat. I don't need to know that, because I'll order it according to what profile you get of the tile. That's automatically handled. You don't have to worry about that portion. All right, so eave closure there.
So how much of those, like, you get one eve closure, how many feet is that?
Yeah, let me put that in there
Is it
for
1
you.
per foot?
Yep. 10 feet long.
Bird stop.
Yeah, so, and that's why I didn't know how to list it, because there's like 4 names for it. They call it bird stop, they call it eave closure, people call it eave return. They, I think these are maybe probably the 3 most common ones, but bird stop and eave closure. That's what that is there. All right, so we look at this list here. All right, so it says eaves. So if you look here, that is just the eaves. Because you see the line below it, it says drip edge. So eaves plus rake. So I think this roof snap one is pretty similar to that. So you're going to take just the eaves to make your eave closure. So you have 187 feet, which is basically 190. So you're looking at 19 pieces, but you want to add a little bit of waste. So I mean, I would go 23. They're not super expensive, and it's something that, again, another piece that you don't want to be short. So that's the first thing that goes down on the roof. It's just like a starter strip. You can't lay shingles until you have your starter strip down. You can't lay tile until you have that eave closure down on the front edge there, because that tile has to line up with this. You can't start laying the tile and go put that back underneath. You have to have it first.
Hey, sorry, really quick. You skipped ordering the actual tile. Are you going to go back
Yes,
to that?
yeah. I will go back to that in just a second.
Okay.
All right, so we have eave closure. Okay, we added that in. Drip. So this one has drip edge, which is eaves plus rakes. Looks like about 27 pieces. So we'll add a few extra here. We'll go with about 32. I'm just adding about 10 to 12, 15% waste on this. All right, so if you look here below, I have hip and ridge channel. So there's three sizes, because there's 3 profiles of tile. There's a flat tile, then there's that medium barrel, which kind of looks like a bunch of M's put together in one piece, that the tile has multiple, and then there's the high profile tile, which you can see here. So they've kind of included all 3 tile profiles in this picture here. That's the high barrel, this is the medium barrel, and then that one there is the flat. So those are the 3 profiles you're looking at. You get the high, the medium, and that one there with the flat. So those are the 3. So if you're looking at your tile here, this is where I'm going to add in your actual quantities. So here you have about 15, because this is a smaller roof. With smaller roofs, I always add just a little bit extra waste, because that 10% of a 20 square roof is only 2 squares, or 10% of a 50 square roof is 5 squares. So it's quite a bit bigger. So I like to go just a tiny bit higher. If you look at this roof here, it does have a few valleys, a few hips, there's a few cuts on it. It's not just a straight up and over. So you're gonna have a few things that are gonna cause more waste. So if you look at that 15%, it says 24 squares there, okay? So you're gonna put in 24 squares. That's it. That's all you put in. It's nothing different than that. And I've listed the 2 different line items here. There's standard color and designer colors.
Can you put next to that standard tile color square?
Yeah,
Like that's what it's counted in the
per
squares.
square.
Yep, there you go.
And go back to the eagle. For that,
Mhm.
24.
So right here, with 15% waste. So I think on the roof snaps you guys use it, the average one it gives you is 12. I think that's the typical one. It shows right under the squares, it says 12% waste.
It all calculates based off how cut up the roof is. I mean,
Does it automatically help you out with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It figures it out for you.
Okay, so if that's the case and that's a good waste factor, I would just go ahead and use that one. I always add just a tiny bit extra. The tile companies always give us about 2% extra per order just for breakage, because the tile can get broken transferring from the plant to the job site when it gets loaded. There's little things, so they always add a little bit extra for that. Okay, so we added the tile in here. So we're gonna say we used, just so we can keep track of what hip and ridge channel to use, we're gonna say we use Capistrano, which is the high profile, this one right here, the high profile tile. So do you guys have tile brochures like Boral or Eagle here at all, really, any of those?
No.
Okay, that would probably be helpful, you think? To have,
Are you able to get us?
yeah, we
those?
can, absolutely, they're easy to get. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll get you some updated Eagle brochures and I'll get you some updated Boral brochures, so you have both of those options. And with that, Eagle has it set up in a very simple way. They have one brochure that's literally called Standard, and they have another brochure that's called Designer. So if your homeowner picks anything out of that Standard brochure, it's standard pricing. Then if they pick anything out of that Designer brochure, it's the Designer pricing. It's very simple. Boral's slightly more difficult. It has the same brochure, but in there it'll say Premium by the color or Standard. So it'll have all the colors grouped together, and then it'll have another section where those colors are set under a premium. So you can see the difference there. And I mean, and you can see it's not a huge spread. It's not like you're talking $100 and $500. So most of the time a homeowner who has a $40,000 tile roof isn't worried about an extra $5 a square. It's not, I want that color, I'm gonna pay this much, I'll pay an extra $500. That's fine.
Yeah.
So with going with the Capistrano, that's gonna be our high profile here. So I wrote hip and ridge, and that's literally what it is. It is the hip plus the ridge. Is there a different way that if I list that differently that helps you understand how to come up with that total, or having hip and ridge there, is that fairly clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
for you.
All right, so we're gonna take here, we have the hips and the ridges. We've already calculated a total up here. So usually what I'll do is I'll just go over the 2, and down here in the quarter it says there's 94 feet. So I'll probably go with, let me see, 94 is almost 100. Okay. I don't know what that was about. All right, so I'd probably go 11 pieces. And I can put, if it helps you, I'll put 10. Do you want to put 10 foot next to these as well?
Yeah, please.
10 foot long.
And what is that channel? That's the metal that's going under?
That, yes, let's see, this one here. It's in the picture there, and it'll be a little easier to see when this loads here. Okay. What's your service in here? so I'll kind of keep moving forward while I find this. The hip and ridge channel is basically the metal that goes on the hips and ridges, and it's shaped almost like it's like a shape like an M. So it's shaped like this on the sides, and the top is about 2 inches wide, and it kind of has a little dip in it, and it sits against the roof. So it basically is this cap over here. Let me go to this picture actually. Right here, it's the cap that sits over where the plywood meets. It sits on top of it like that and raises up the area that you attach the hip and ridge tile to. Because as you can see, when you put this tile down here, it's gonna make the roof a lot thicker and stick up higher. So you need something to lift it up, which is why there's a 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch hip and ridge channel depending on the tile profile. And so once you have that down, the hip and ridge tile sits right on top of it, whether it's the round tile for the barrel or the 3-way flat tile for the flat tile over there. Okay, so we've gotten to the hip and ridge channel here, and we said that we need 11 of them because we have about 94 down here, hip and ridge total. All right, so we just keep moving. I kind of just keep moving down the list here to see if we need anything. Do we need any step flashing? Where did that? Here it is. All right, so I slide down step flashing, 22 feet. Okay, so I'm gonna put in, well, it says tile flashing, I apologize. One right above it there. Flashing, 60 feet, so I'd probably do 7 pieces because they're 10-foot lengths. Step flashing, it says we need 22. These are also,
Tile flashing and step flashing, what are the differences between
so
those?
yeah, tile flashing is a standard like the one you use for shingles, that straight L.
Oh,
It's
straight
4 foot by,
flashing.
or 4 inch by 6 inch. With tile, it's just a little longer, it's 5 inches by 6 inches. So
Okay.
it's just a regular angle flashing. You use it probably around the base of a chimney, where another roof meets a lower roof or higher roof. And the step flashing is usually around the tops of chimneys, where it has a weird, it's basically the regular flashing, except it has a little kick out at the top. Some people call it stucco stop. It has a little kick out at the top where you put a bead of caulking along the edge. So some people actually use step flashing where you meet stucco. That's usually what step flashing is used for.
Gotcha.
So we have, back to this list here, you have tile, you have lead boots. So that's just a matter of calculating how many lead boots you have. We'll say you need 2 2s and 2 3s. Then we have the 4-inch, the GRVs, if you need those. I put this on there. I don't know if you guys use this. I've seen Josh order it a time or two. Waka Flex it's basically a peel and stick, flexible flashing. And so a lot of people will use it in lieu of angle flashing here. It's fairly expensive, as you can see, compared to a roll or a piece of flashing. I think this is 50 feet long. I'll put that in there for you guys. 50 feet long. All right, so make sure. So there, that will give you another option. I wouldn't really. Is that something you probably, if you guys aren't going to use it much, you want me to take that off?
No, leave it on.
Just leave it
I'll
on
leave
there?
it on, but I don't
Okay.
think use it that much.
All right. So
Leave it
then,
on so they can give it to them without me knowing.
all right. So, and then we work down the list here, and we have oxide and mortar. And so this is where I added some extra little calculations we need to look at here. So 1 oxide per 35 linear feet of hip, ridge, and rake. So this is where you're going to basically look at the hip, ridge, and rake. So I highlight all 3, gives me the total in the corner, 187. So 187 divided by 35 gives me 5.34. I would round it up to 6. So you're gonna go and you're gonna add 6 oxide in. And it says mortar, 4 mortar per oxide. 6 times 4, 24. We're done there. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's 2 systems to put a roof down. You can screw it down or you can foam it down. Okay? Screwing it down, it just adds more holes to the roof, more places it can leak. If you foam it down, you put no extra holes. You have that's that peel and stick against the roof, and so you can see here, this is your peel and stick. They have battens on this picture, but most of the time you're not going to use battens. You have your peel and stick against the roof here, it has like kind of like a fuzzy face, right? Have any of you guys seen the tile underlayment before? It's got like a fuzzy face on it. You guys might even have a sample here. The TU Plus is what you guys use most of the time. And it's this, and they put foam right down in like these little patties, and they set the tile right in them. And it sets really quick, and the tile is held on there, and that's how the roof goes together with foam.
So they don't typically have these battens, you're saying?
The battens are really, there's two systems. You can do battens with screws, or you can do a foam system.
Okay, so you don't need it in that case, okay.
No, yeah, with the foam, you just put the foam down,
Okay.
and you're done.
And they're basically held on by the eave closures.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really hold. Yeah, and as you build the roof from the bottom up, and each tile has an interlocking, similar to what you're looking at here. You
Right.
have
The
it
little
has like an
channels.
interlocking piece. The tile is almost built just like this. You're gonna have that interlocking piece, and the next tile has that lip, and it sits. This one, actually, it's going this way. Actually, going this way here. So this one, this bottom piece is sitting over the top of this one here, and these are interlocking together one by one, all the way down the roof to hold themselves together. And once that foam dries in 2 minutes, it's not going anywhere anyway. It's similar to those cans you see at Home Depot with yellow, and you spray them into something and they expand out. It's very similar to that type of product.
Quick question for you. Is the batten style, is that sort of an older
It
method?
is.
Yeah.
It's an older method.
So if we could,
It's less
Yeah.
expensive,
yeah,
but not by a lot. So if you,
Most of the tile roofs you're taking off will have the batten system.
so we're taking it off and pretty much go down foam. Is that what you guys?
yeah, the idea is there's less holes in the roof.
Sure. Yeah,
So
makes sense.
if you think there's about 89 tiles per square, that's 89 screw holes per square. Versus the foam, there's 0. There's no holes. So it's just less places to leak. Because with tile roofs, they don't act like shingle roofs. They don't have a glue strip when it gets warm that it seals down. Water will get under the tile. It's not a watertight system. When we think about tile, we think about concrete and it absorbs water. You think about put two pieces of concrete together, I don't care how tight you put them together. If water's sitting there long enough and coming down on it, it's eventually gonna get underneath of it. Or if water comes up the other way, even though they're interlocking and they have these little water channels, water, not a lot, but some water will still get underneath. So the less holes you have underneath, even though with the peel and stick it will, if you put the hole in it, it's supposed to self-seal around it. It's just less places to leak, is what you're doing. It's just, if shingles had the option to foam them down instead of nail them down, I'm sure that's what we would do. Because it's just less holes in the roof, less places to leak. So,
But you will have to screw down the first 2 rows, and then like by code,
Yes.
how do they?
yeah, so the installers that you will have to screw down the first 3 courses of a roof get screwed down. It's just part of code. That's not really something, I mean, I guess you could explain that to the homeowner, but I don't really think that's something that you guys need to, I think, worry about too much, because the installers are the ones that know that's the system that needs to go. But you're gonna foam those down even with those rows being screwed.
Yeah.
So you go here, and I put tile foam 6 squares per canister. So you look up, you have 24 squares, and the same thing. You're just taking 24 squares divided by 6. Luckily this one comes out with a round number. Usually it's weird, it's like 4.6 or something. So you put 4 of those there. I put the coil nails on here. Usually the ones I send over, you guys never actually have this. And I thought maybe I should add it in. I think you guys usually grab the nails from your shop here anyway. It's not something we would sell you per job, but it's just something to remember to add it in. So what I try to do is make this list a comprehensive list that nothing's missing. Every single little piece that you would need to put a roof on will be on here. So you can look through it and go, oh, I didn't put any quick drive screws. Oh, I don't need any. Or maybe I do need some. So it just helps you look through it. So you go to the coil nails. I mean, on most roofs, you're gonna need maybe a box. 8D nails. I took the 35 squares based off of your normal POs you guys factor in. So it's a 24 square roof, so there's only one. Modified cement, a 24 square roof. Modified cement, the only difference is it's made for the high temp peel and stick that is used on tile and metal roofs. Normal cement, the wet dry or the plastic cement's used for shingles, but the way the modified cement is made up, it doesn't eat away at the high temp peel and stick. If you use regular cement on it, it's some weird chemical reaction. It will eat away at the underlayment, which is bad. So the modified cement. So basically on a 24 square roof, on a regular shingle roof, how many cans of cement would you put on a 24 square shingle roof?
1 or 2.
1 or 2? You can go with 2, who cares? Okay, so this is the same thing here. Tile underlayment, and a lot of this stuff, if you look at it, they just have a different name for the exact same thing that you use on a shingle roof. Figure tile underlayment, same thing as a peel and stick shingle roof, right? You're doing Weatherlock G, only thing is here, you're just doing a tile underlayment. You guys factor about 1.8 squares of coverage, is that about right?
Okay.
So you take a 24 square roof, divide it by 1.8, 13 rolls. So 13.3, so you just round up a little bit to get to 14. If you
So
have,
you're saying these are 2 squares each, but just with the overlap, right?
yeah, with you lose a little bit. So I gotta put this, move this line. We'll leave it there for now. Okay, so we have 4-foot off-ridge vents. I'll move this up in a minute, but there's 4-foot and 6-foot off-ridge vents. So depending, you're basically going back with the same vent that's there, right? You have a 4-foot, put a 4-foot back. You have a 6-foot, you put a 6-foot. They make 8 and they even make 10-foot. So if you have a really long one, you can do a 10-footer if you need.
How does venting work with the tile roofs? Is it only going to be these off-ridge vents?
They have a version of a ridge vent, but it's not, it doesn't work that well, and you have to install the tile in a weird way to put the mesh underneath of it, and you have to vent it doesn't allow you to put mortar here. It works in some markets like California and Arizona where they don't have the mortar, they just set the tile on top. It works better. It rains too much here, too much wind-driven rain to do something like that. A lot of people with the tile roofs, they'll put these vents, if you see right here, it's not standing off the roof like a regular off-ridge vent. It's called an O'Hagan vent. So, O'Hagan.
So you're cold.
Freezing.
So you're
Cold as a bone.
A little bit cold here, huh?
Frozen.
Okay, you can see some, here, let's do a little gallery. This will help you guys see them.
72. Holy shit.
All
Who
right.
sets that thing?
Some composition vents. Let me get down to the. Here we go. All right. So what you're gonna do when you look at an O'Hagan vent, it's gonna be very similar to what a tile vent looks like, except the idea is that it matches the roof. So on a flat tile, they make a flat O'Hagan vent. On a barrel tile, they make a barrel vent. On even that medium profile, they make another one. The idea is that you spray paint it with a similar color as the tile. That's a really good job that it looks almost identical, even that one there. They're not using it quite that perfect, but the idea is that the profile of the vent blends into the roof. It doesn't catch your eye like a big 4-foot vent sticking off the roof almost a foot.
And those don't leak at all?
No, because the way they're flashed in there.
I mean, the holes on the top side of the roof though.
Yes. So I should have brought one in. Underneath these baffles here, there is a diverter. So when the rain comes in, there's a diverter welded on the inside there, so none of the water can get into the inside. It diverts all the water out, and that's what I was talking about. With a tile roof, it's not watertight like a shingle
So
roof.
it's diverted under the tile.
And it diverts it back under, and then it runs back out, and the eave closure at the bottom lets the water back out. So it's just everything's downhill. So you guys haven't really ordered these for these tile roofs, and it depends on kind of the roofer's style of installation to which one you want to use. So we do have these O'Hagan vents on here, and you can put them in at a similar pattern that you put the 4-foot vents up on the roof. So it's an option.
Okay, so would one of those tiles replace a 4-foot off-ridge vent?
It takes 2 for every one. So
Okay.
2 of those for every one 4-foot off-ridge vent.
And what about cost?
Cost, it's right on here for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So O'Hagan vents here, they are $48.50 each. So they're more expensive, but the idea they're more aesthetically pleasing. They look, as you can see right there.
Yeah, it's a lot better looking for sure.
it blends in. It's not, and most people don't think much about them when they're up there. Oh, wow, that is really nice. And if you can show them something like this, go, hey, look, this is the vent we're gonna put on your roof. It's gonna blend in nicely. It's not gonna stick up, stand out, and it still offers the same ventilation.
No,
I mean-
but those 4-inch offridge vents have a lot of leaks. I get a lot of calls on those leaking a lot. So
On top, yeah, it's one of the biggest repaired items
yeah, so
on
I
a
mean,
tower.
This,
for sure. When you
this
guys-
actually would fix that issue for the most
Mhm.
part.
Yeah, it helps. It helps a ton. I mean, it's going to be the same. These are going to leak less than a 4-foot offridge vent. They're not. They're not perfect.
Right.
Nothing's perfect on that. Where do you get repairs? Around lead boots, around vents, and valleys. It's always still going to be the same situation with this. It's not any different. It's just
But for people that are having this issue constantly, I mean, this is a good alternative for that.
yeah to go back in because if you look at this, it still has that nice flange all the way around where it slides into the tile and it sits like that.
How do you like? Do you send anything else out to install that in, as far as
In terms of
nails or
Come with its own nails.
you'll have
flashing or?
it's going to go down the same way that a off-ridge vent would go down. So the
that-
same way you install an off-ridge vent, you flash around or you put the cement around the edges of it. I think you guys probably top nail it. Whatever the
Okay, no, that works.
I mean,
I
there's
don't know what to do with it.
yeah, there's an installation here too.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
That's good enough.
All right, so you got O'Hagan vents here. If you want to add some of those in, and I'm not going to add these things. I don't know how many. Usually, that's a job site thing. You have to look at how many are there and how many you want to add in. Okay, if you have a flat deck, 1 square, choose Liberty cap, Liberty base. You guys usually use the Owens Corning, I think. Deck seal.
Oh, this is just flat roof material.
Yep.
No.
Only other question I have on the vents is that it jumps up price from 4 to 6. So what if I have negative?
Okay. We had that.
$20, just $20.
Let me see. Where's this 6 foot 89? I think it's roughly.
Roughly like.
Yeah, I think it's like $117, so 27. You want me to add that in there for you guys? Do you
I
think?
mean, at least 8 foot. I would
Okay.
just add 8 foot.
Okay.
Cause I got an 8 foot.
Deck seal, cap. Okay. So if you have a flat roof on there, and I have this set up to kind of calculate it for you. Little formula in there to give you a rough idea on how many pallets, then your loading charge, and then freight. So this is I put 40 squares per truckload. It's less than 40 squares, so 1 truckload. So you're looking at this roof here, and your out the door tax $7,300. So that gives you an idea on what you're looking at for that roof. What your cost, material cost, delivered tax, everything is going to be. So that gives you the starting point to add, mark up all your other stuff to build it into your formula. So, was that fairly clear on how it's built? That's basically what I do when I get your order. I look through it and I fill in every item that's on that roof snap. Okay, how many squares waste is that? I add it in. I go down the list and I just fill it in all the way down the list. That's as complicated as it really is.
Can you email me that exact Excel file?
I will. Yeah, I'm
That,
gonna.
like built out like you would have.
Yeah, no, I'll send the one right off of here.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys can. You guys will have that.
Things that I'm sure that probably we weren't as knowledgeable is the valley and then the hip and ridge channel.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are probably the 2 things that you guys probably didn't know about the most, because the hip and ridge channel was new to me.
I have a question on the valley as well once you get to that. Roof I just went on, so I know that now the valleys have like the metal flashing or the metal material, right? Old valleys that I've been on are basically just cutouts.
Yeah, they're really wide.
Like
the
U
plywood's
cutouts,
missing.
essentially.
Yeah,
They look like just gutters that running down valleys.
yeah.
So can you go back in there and retrofit the channel into those
Those valleys.
those valleys? Yeah.
Yes, you could. So
Because people apparently have issues in those kind of valleys a lot.
So the tile valleys they're 24-inch wide pieces of metal and they're 10-foot lengths. So I listed it on here. W tile valley, 10 linear feet per stick. So they are 24 inches wide, and it's a flat piece of metal that comes down flat like this all the way, and then right in the middle, it has a 1-inch V. So if you look at it, it looks like a giant W. So that's wide enough that you would be able to put the you would be able to put your that over the top of that wider space
Okay.
in there.
Alright.
All right, let's see. Metal roofing accessories, tile. Here you go. This will give you an idea of what a lot of these accessories look like. Okay, so you can see there. That's a short piece. They usually probably have about 10 or 12 of these on here. But that's a high profile tile enclosure, and you can see it has a little hole here, I think about every foot, so that when the water gets down to it, runs out, doesn't get stuck in there. All right, so there's your eave closure, and you can see they have all the different profiles on here. All right. And then when you get down, this is your hip and ridge channel. They kind of did a little drawing of it. So this part sits against the roof, it's about 1.5 inches long, and then this is the 3-inch, so it goes up, and it has that little dip. That little dip in there is when they put they either foam it down or they screw it down. So that little